Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is an absolute romp that perfectly channels the spirit of the original movies. It's the best Indiana Jones game since Fate of Atlantis, and yes, it really is that good. With surprising set pieces and a story that never overstays its welcome, The Great Circle is an absolute delight. I found myself willing to overlook its weaknesses because I was too busy grinning ear to ear. Now, I've completed the whole game alongside all the field work, which clocks in at around 26 hours if you don't get distracted exploring the beautiful locations. Given the number of times I've watched Raiders of the Lost Ark, I was a little cynical of the tutorial level, which mimics the opening of Raiders shot for shot. But the game soon opens up into a globe-trotting sandbox in which Indiana Jones is pitted against the Nazis in a race to find a series of esoteric artifacts. Of course, the Nazis want to use that power for their own nefarious ends, and it's up to Indy to stop them. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is clearly made by people who love Indy. It shines out of the humour, whether that's the wry look of Indiana Jones as he picks up his hat for a second chance, or him masquerading as a priest taking a rather dramatic confession in the Vatican. There's a lot to be said for a game that makes you genuinely laugh out loud in a year that's been tough for many people. The story is a perfect example of how to draw the player in through mystery by drip-feeding clues one at a time. What starts as an investigation into a stolen cat mummy escalates into a world-shattering conclusion. The stakes go up and up with each revelation, perfectly timed to match key plot points. Each piece of fieldwork contributes to a greater understanding of the story, which is exactly how side quests should work. In both the combat and cutscenes, the game captures the pulpy slapstick of the films. The highlight of this tomfoolery is a showdown between the villainous boss and Indy in Giza. This scene both develops the villains and entertains the player, which is pretty heavy lifting for a single scene, all without losing its light touch, and it was one of my favourite moments of the game. But this reliance on the film's iconic set pieces is also one of the game's weaknesses. The game relies too heavily on existing material. We know Indy hates snakes, and that's played out in every chapter of this story. Likewise, the sandbag idol switcheroo is referenced in many of the tombs. I would have liked to see this story add to this lexicon of iconic scenes rather than draw from already beloved moments. The game is best when it creates original set pieces in the spirit of Indy, yet the Great Circle knows exactly what people expect from an Indiana Jones story and delivers on that promise. There's adventure in exotic locales, a cast of earnestly quirky NPCs, a dastardly villain and his goons, and it does these so well. Part of the sheer enjoyment of this game stems from how well realised and brilliantly hammy the villains are. Emmerich Voss is an antagonist to rival Belloc, chewing the scenery for all it's worth. His intellectual mind games will leave you guessing until the very end. Tough Guy Gantz is your classic blue-eyed, blonde-haired Aryan filled with love of the fatherland. His choo-choo speech is a monologue for the ages, although I'm pretty sure I heard his lines about being invincible in GoldenEye. The game has solid female representation with a cast of strong women including journalist Gina Lombardi, the clever archaeologist Dame Nawal, and Ty Rebel Palin. I'd been concerned that Gina would play too much into female archetypes, but there is a brilliant line of dialogue when Indy asks for a lipstick to draw a diagram, and she retorts that she has a pen because she's a journalist. It establishes that she's to be taken seriously in the search for her sister. But as much as I like Gina's hot-headed determination, as an NPC she physically gets in the way of solving puzzles. When looking at clues, she walks in front of whatever Indy is holding, breaking her view and concentration on the puzzle at hand. She insists on taking the left lever regardless of where Indy's standing, and she's way too over-explanatory in tombs and puzzles when you're just having a look around to see what's what. Maybe it's the introvert in me, but I prefer traveling solo through these ancient ruins. Dame Noel would not be this annoying. On the more serious side, there's a strong theme of both national repatriation of objects and the theft of archaeological artifacts from their country of origin. Indy is firmly on the side of the good guys because he believes in artifacts staying in their country of origin. It belongs in a museum, in the home country, of course. But Indy faces development as a character when having to choose between the past or moving on to his future. And this is a nice metaphor and parallel with his journey as an archaeologist and his character development. He has to make a decision whether he's going to focus on things from the past or move on in his life. The game is also a love letter to linguists, and as someone with a degree in languages, I love the emphasis on international language representation. Non-English speaking characters tell stories in their own language, from Latin to Thai. And damn, I forgot why Indy is so sexy. Not because he's charming, but because he's outrageously smart. If you've played Uncharted or any of those kind of archaeological adventure games, then you've got a taste for the type of action-adventure mix of combat, stealth and puzzle solving that keeps the Great Circle going. The game perfectly balances these quieter moments of exploration with thrilling adventure. You're never stuck too long in one mode of gameplay, and there's enough here to keep any type of player entertained. If you want to spend hours tracking down every journal article and solving puzzles, you can. If you want to zip through the story and leave the puzzles till later, you can also do that. It's a model that has both great replayability in revisiting maps and a structure that can be repeated in a multitude of exotic locations for the future DLC. Comparisons to Hitman are well earned, although the locations are more realistic than Hitman's campy humour. Disguises allow you to infiltrate restricted areas, and you're encouraged to stealth eliminate enemies using anything on hand. And I mean anything. Taking a rake, violin, or toilet brush to a Nazi never gets old. As for combat, well, sometimes the AI is smart, sometimes it's dumb. There were some really cool moments where I threw a weapon or a bottle at the Nazis and they either dodged it or caught it. And I thought that was a really great touch because normally, you just knock them out quickly that way. That was my old Hitman classic. The fascists clearly also have a Spanish flu epidemic in their camps. The amount of times they sneeze as an audio cue to alert you to their whereabouts borders on the ridiculous. There's a lot of allergies going around, I understand. And even on hard mode, you can sneak up in the side vision of an enemy and thwack them over the head without them noticing. This is made a lot easier with the disguises, and I highly recommend tracking them down because that's going to make your gameplay a lot easier. Like in any stealth game, going out all guns blazing usually ends up in your untimely death. What's less successful are the myriad of Ubisoft-style collection quests, grabbing books, journal articles, and weirdly shaped artifacts that don't exactly have a bearing on the story I can see. These are a step above your standard collection quests because many of the journal items and photographs provide further background and context to the plot. And collecting books allows you to upgrade your combat and survival skills. Still, collection quests in 2024 give me the ick. It wouldn't be Indy without the infamous Grail journal, and the Great Circles journal is beautifully and lovingly designed. They've really gone all out on designing this, and it was one of my favorite aspects of the game is the attention to detail in the menus, the journal design, and especially the map design. Tabletop RPG designers take note. The Great Circles maps are a masterclass in creating atmosphere and tone while providing the player with information. They really reflect the location that you're in, whether that's the architectural map of Marshall College or a watercolor map of the Vatican. It is so beautifully done. For the most part, the main quest puzzles aren't too difficult, but they are a lot of fun, and you can drop down the difficulty on these if you're struggling. Particularly notable was the puzzle in the Vatican to enter the tomb in an elegant riff on the Stations of the Cross. There's a variety in puzzle types, from matching games and shifting mirrors, which was reminiscent of Assassin's Creed Origins, and to be honest is actually one of my favorite moments of the Ubisoft classic. More mind-bending are the code-breaking puzzles, many of which are optional brain teasers scattered throughout the maps as mysteries. These are a little more challenging, and you'll need to put your thinking cap on because there's a combination of logic and code breaking that's quite fun, for nerds like me. The moments where I got the most stuck were in the platforming elements, where there wasn't a clear vision of how to escape a situation. I don't know how many times I tried to escape a particular tomb, only to drown in quicksand time and time again. I'm not sure if this was user error or design error or, just me. Maybe I was a bit crap, but I did have to look up a walkthrough, and I hate to confess that, but I just couldn't figure out how to solve this issue. Some moments of jankiness could easily be fixed in future patches. For example, there was a point in Giza where I couldn't hand over an artifact to finish a quest until I'd completed another piece of fieldwork across Giza. It didn't break the game, but it was frustrating to have to run back over the map to finish it off, and then run back to the other place to finish the other quest, back and forth. There were some other frustrating janks. Despite running a souped up PC, the autosave jutted the game into sluggish pauses while running through the maps. This really kind of broke my immersion in the game, and it was a bit frustrating because I know my PC could handle this game. The body physics could use a little work too. Hiding baddies after sending them off to the dreamlands resulted in some amusingly placed bodies. But when I look back at my time with Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, I don't remember any of these issues. I think about how many moments surprised and delighted me, how I squealed at the screen when Marcus Brody turned up, how the early promise of set pieces was delivered and then some, and how good it felt to be back in the joyous, pulpy spirit of Indiana Jones, his triumphant theme song playing in the background as I thwacked bad guys in the name of archaeology. At its heart, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is a game about the power of language to tell mythic stories. But it never over-intellectualizes this theme at the cost of fun. I often say that games don't need to be fun to be meaningful. It's a mistake to think that a game has an obligation to entertain you just because games culturally imply play, and play should be fun, right? But some games just let you clean up fascism with a dirty toilet brush, and damned if that's not fun. I'm Kat Clay, a game writer from Melbourne, Australia. If you like this review, like this video, want more next year, please do hit that subscribe button, and thank you so much for watching.